Victor Hale was a man of vision. As the innovative mind behind HaleTech, a company that revolutionized technology and innovation, Victor had turned a small startup into a billion-dollar empire. His ideas, passion, and relentless drive had built the company from the ground up, but success, as Victor would learn, breeds envy. His business partner, Leonard Grayson, was a financial genius behind HaleTech. While Victor focused on innovation, Leonard handled the finances and operations. They were a perfect team, or so Victor believed. But as HaleTech grew, so did Leonard's ambitions. He watched as Victor received accolades and admiration, while he remained in the shadows, unrecognized and undervalued. When the opportunity arose to take HaleTech public, Victor was hesitant. He knew the risks involved, losing control of the company he had built with his blood, sweat, and tears. Leonard, however, was insistent. He saw the potential for immense wealth and power. Unbeknownst to Victor, Leonard had been plotting behind the scenes, slowly garnering the support of the board members who shared his vision of the HaleTech without Victor. The moment the company went public, Leonard made his move. He orchestrated a coup that would leave Victor with nothing. Leonard had secretly rewritten Victor's contract, ensuring that if he were ever voted out, he would receive no severance pay or compensation. The board, swayed by Leonard's promise of greater profits and power, voted unanimously to remove Victor from his own company. Victor was blindsided. One moment he was the CEO of a thriving tech empire, the next he was out on the street with nothing but the clothes on his back. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the loss of his company, but because he had come from a man he had trusted. Leonard's parting words echoed in his mind. "You've never listened, Victor. You never saw what I could bring to the table. Now I'll show you what real power looks like." Devastated and humiliated, Victor wandered the streets, grappling with the magnitude of his downfall. His empire was gone, his reputation shattered, and his future uncertain. But as the days passed, Victor's despair began to harden into something else: resolve. Leonard had taken everything from him, but he hadn't taken Victor's most valuable asset, his mind. And with that, Victor would begin to plot his revenge. The days following his ousting were the darkest of Victor Hale's life. He had lost everything: his company, his fortune, and his purpose. But as the dust settled, Victor's grief transformed into a burning desire for revenge. He knew he had been outmaneuvered, but he was determined to reclaim what was rightfully his. Leonard Grayson had underestimated him, and that would be his downfall. Victor retreated from the public eye, taking refuge in a small, rundown apartment on the outskirts of the city. He spent weeks reflecting on his mistakes and studying Leonard's tactics. He pored over business strategies, devoured books on warfare and psychology, and meticulously analyzed the events that had led to his downfall. Victor began to craft a plan that would make his former partner regret ever crossing him. The first step was to build a new company, one that would rival HaleTech in every way. But this time, Victor would do it differently. He wouldn't rely on a board of directors or shareholders. He would maintain full control, ensuring that no one could ever betray him again. With the little money he had left, Victor began to network, reaching out to old contacts and allies who had remained loyal to him. He started small, focusing on niche markets that HaleTech had neglected. Using his knowledge of the industry and his reputation as an innovator, Victor slowly rebuilt his empire. He worked day and night, pouring every ounce of his energy into his new venture. The fire of revenge fueled him, driving him to achieve things he had never thought possible. As his new company began to gain traction, Victor also focused on dismantling HaleTech from the outside. He used his connections to sow seeds of doubt among HaleTech's clients and investors, subtly undermining Leonard's leadership. Victor knew that the key to defeating Leonard was not just to succeed, but to do so in a way that would strip Leonard of the power he had so ruthlessly seized. Victor's efforts paid off. Within a year, his new company, HaleTech, was making waves in the tech industry. Investors were taking notice, and HaleTech was starting to feel the pressure. Leonard, who had once been confident in his control over HaleTech, now found himself facing a formidable competitor. But he had no idea that this competitor was the very man he had betrayed. As HaleTech grew, Victor kept his identity as the company's founder a secret. He wanted to strike when the time was right, to reveal himself only when Leonard was at his most vulnerable. The stage was set, and Victor was ready to make his move. HaleTech's meteoric rise was impossible to ignore. The company's innovative products and cutting-edge technology quickly made it a household name, and investors flocked to it in droves. Behind the scenes, Victor Hale watched with satisfaction as HaleTech began to overshadow HaleTech, a company he had once built with his own hands. The irony was not lost on him. Leonard had stolen HaleTech from him, only to see it eclipsed by its own founder. Victor knew that the time had come to take the next step in his plan. He had built HaleTech into a powerhouse, and now it was time to strike at the heart of HaleTech. The key was to use Leonard's own greed against him. Victor began to leak rumors that HaleTech was looking for a major acquisition, and that HaleTech was the prime target. The news sent shockwaves through the industry, and Leonard, desperate to maintain his company's dominance, took the bait. Leonard reached out to HaleTech, eager to explore a potential merger. He had no idea that Victor was behind the company, nor did he realize that he was walking into a carefully laid trap. Victor, playing the role of an anonymous investor, proposed a deal that would see HaleTech acquire a controlling stake in HaleTech. The terms were generous, almost too generous, but Leonard's greed blinded him to see the danger. The deal was signed, and Victor became the new majority shareholder of HaleTech. The takeover was swift and ruthless, and Leonard was completely blindsided when Victor revealed himself as the man behind HaleTech. The look of shock and horror on Leonard's face was worth every moment of hardship Victor had endured. He had come full circle, reclaiming the company that had been stolen from him. But Victor's revenge was not complete. He wanted to ensure that Leonard could never again rise to power. Using his newfound control, Victor systematically dismantled Leonard's influence within HaleTech. He stripped Leonard of his title, removed him from the board, and banned him from ever holding a position of power in the company. Leonard, once the man who had everything, was now nothing more than a powerless figurehead. Victor's victory was complete, but it came at a cost. He had sacrificed much to get to this point. His time, his energy, and a part of his soul. The pursuit of revenge had consumed him, and now that it was over, he found himself wondering what came next. He had won, but at what price? He looked over the city from his office, Victor, realizing that he had become something different. A man who had been risen from the ashes, who had lost a part of himself in the process. With Leonard Grayson stripped of his power and HaleTech firmly under his control, Victor Hale had achieved his goal. HaleTech and HaleTech, now unified under his leadership, became the new dominant force in the tech industry. But Victor's victory was bittersweet. The taste of revenge, while satisfying, left him feeling hollow. He had regained what was rightfully his, but the journey had changed him in ways that he hadn't anticipated. Victor knew that Leonard was a broken man, but he wasn't content with merely taking away his power. He wanted to ensure that Leonard could never rebuild, that he could never recover from the betrayal he had orchestrated. Victor had one final move to make, a move that would cement his dominance and leave Leonard with nothing. Victor called a meeting with the remaining board members of HaleTech, now a shadow of its former self. He proposed a radical restructuring plan that would see the company's assets merged with HaleTech's, effectively erasing the HaleTech name from existence. The board, eager to please their new leader, agreed without hesitation. The announcement sent shockwaves through the industry. HaleTech, once a giant in the tech world, was no more. The company that Leonard had seized in his quest for power was now nothing more than a footnote in the history of HaleTech. Leonard, who had once been hailed as visionary, was now a disgraced and forgotten figure. The final blow came when Victor made a public statement addressing the reasons behind the merger. He spoke of betrayal, greed, and the importance of loyalty. Without naming Leonard, he made it clear that the downfall of HaleTech was the result of those who had sought power at the expense of others. The message was clear. Those who betray will ultimately destroy themselves. Leonard, watching the press conference from his modest apartment, felt the weight of his choices crushing him. He had once held the world in his hands, but now he had nothing. The power he had craved had slipped through his fingers, leaving him with nothing but regret. Victor had taken everything from him, just as he had once taken everything from Victor. As Victor left the stage, he felt a sense of closure. The journey had been long and difficult, but he had emerged victorious. He had righted the wrongs done against him and had proven that betrayal comes at a price. But as he walked away from the cameras and the applause, Victor knew that the victory was not without its cost. He had won, but he had lost something in the process, something he could never get back. On that note, that wraps up this story. If you haven't already, I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment on any stories you want me to bring to life. But other than that, while this story may come to an end, the start of another begins.